Good afternoon. Well, it is here in Rainier, Oregon. The Bible records for us in Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 34. So they arrived in the region of the Gerasenes across the lake from Galilee. As Jesus was climbing out of the boat, a man who was possessed by demons came out to meet him. For a long time he had been homeless and naked, living in a cemetery outside town. As soon as he saw Jesus, he shrieked and fell down in front of him. Then he screamed, "Why are you interfering with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Please, I beg you, don't torture me." For Jesus had already commanded the evil spirit to come out of him. This spirit had taken control of the man often. Even when he was placed under guard and put in chains and shackles, he simply broke them and rushed out into the wilderness, completely under the demon's power. Jesus demanded, "What is your name?" "Legion," he replied, for he was filled with many demons. The demons kept begging Jesus not to send them into the bottomless pit. There happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding on a hillside nearby, and the demons begged him to let them enter the pigs. So Jesus gave them permission, and the demons came out of the man and entered into the pigs, which is the first reference to deviled ham. And the entire herd plunged down the steep hillside into the lake and drowned. When the herdsmen saw it, they fled to the nearby town and surrounding countryside, spreading the news as they ran. Verse 35 says, "People rushed out to see what had happened, and a crowd gathered around Jesus, and they saw the man who had been freed from the demons. He was sitting at Jesus' feet, fully clothed and perfectly sane, and they were all afraid." And what happens next is just incredible to me, that they would actually beg Jesus to leave. The Bible says, "Then those who had seen what happened told the others how the demon-possessed man had been healed. All the people in the region of the Gerasenes begged Jesus to go away and leave them alone, for a great wave of fear swept over them." In other words, what was happening was these people actually were afraid of the power that Jesus had in them, much like when we were in sin and we knew what was good and we knew that we were doing wrong, we were afraid to come to the Lord. And I can admit that. Maybe a lot of other people wouldn't be so ready to admit that they had a hard time coming to the Lord. But just to be flat honest with you, we are afraid of the power that God has to clean us. And here are two men that nobody could pass by. Nobody could do anything in that area because they were afraid of these demon-possessed people. Now, there's another reference in another one of the Gospels where there were two men that were demon-possessed and nobody could go by there. Whether or not that's the same instance and it's just a different perspective, we don't really know for sure. But we know that there was great fear of these men. And here, you would think that because Jesus had cleansed these men, here these guys were out of their mind, living in tombs. They were totally defiled to Jewish society. Jesus comes and totally empties them of all demons. They're in their right mind, clothed, and yet they're more afraid of Jesus than they were of the men that were living in caves. The demons are gone, but now they've lost their livelihood. There's a herd of pigs that are totally lost now. They've cast themselves off the hillside into the sea, and so a whole herd of swine are lost, and they're thinking, okay, well, we've lost our herds and we've lost our livelihood there, and here's the power of God that's come in, and what is he going to do to us next? And sometimes instead of doing the right thing and just accepting what the Lord has for us and accepting the fact that God has greater things on the other side of what we're going through now, we hide in fear. Sometimes many of us that have been in church for a very long time, we hide in fear of what it's going to be like on the other side of a true revival, of Jesus coming in and cleansing us and doing a new thing in our hearts. I would propose that we would need to just let Jesus be the cleanser of our hearts and allow him to come in, and no matter what it means. Because I'm sure if the demoniac possessed man had his way, he would have followed Jesus. He even proposed as much. Jesus said, "No, I don't want you to follow me. I want you to stay here. I want you to be a testimony to what I have done for you." And so Later on, he comes back by that way. About a year later, Jesus does. And then the people realized what a great work had been done. And then many people came out to meet Jesus. It's interesting that the first person that met Jesus in that town was a demon-possessed man. Just give you food for thought. And thank you.